All right, we are live. Cody Mooney, welcome to the Future of Fitness.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I mean, I've been following Romwad for, as you and I were just discussing, for a very long time. Having spent a lot of time in the CrossFit world, obviously we'll get into your background. You've been deeply involved and still are in the world of CrossFit, exceptionally gone pretty far as an athlete, much farther than I ever did. I'll grant that. But I think mobility, movement health, Anthony Veneri and I talked about this last year on a podcast, how that's, a really big trend. Technology is really starting to play a role in human movement health, and more people are starting to pay attention to it. So I feel like, what you guys were in Romwad up until, about 2 years ago, and rebranding to Pliability and really starting to go over that mass market, as you were saying earlier, is a really interesting play. So I think it has a lot of beneficial aspects for many people in the industry to understand the opportunities here. And yeah, so it's really cool to have you. I'll just stop chatting now. Cody, if you want to maybe just give us a little bit of your background, kind of how you've developed as an athlete and a business person, how you got to be the director of performance and Pliability, that'd be great. We'll take it from there.
Yeah. So my background a bit was always in sports. I mean, my parents put me in sports from the minute I could walk, and honestly, most of my childhood memories are in sports. I was during the summer playing 3 sports at a time. I was functionally, it was always very good practices, and it was just always, that's where I felt my best. That is what I love to do. I always loved the team aspect of it. I loved all of that. But then around 16, I found CrossFit, and it was kind of this like really cool experience where I always enjoyed working out, but I didn't love just like the go in, do the bench, do the squat mix thing. So when I first saw something, I was like, what is this stuff? And I would go probably like once a week, but I was always trying to mix it in with, at that point, I was like, either going to basketball practice and then come after. And so slowly kind of mixing it in. And I realized that style of training, like functional fitness, constantly like pushing the limits in this and then using like full range of motion here, it quickly transferred over to sports and in a beneficial way. So I kept with it. I'm like, I'm going to keep doing this. And one day turned into 2 turned into 4. And that process kind of like went throughout. And then I got my L1, and I was, by my sophomore high school year summer, I was like playing sports, trying to work out as much as I could, but I was also part-time coaching at a gym. So I took on like a role there, and I really loved it. And then I would implement that back into the high school gym. So I started like teaching the kids these ways, which was really nice. And that's what I kind of became known for. Like I was just like known as the CrossFit guy that just like did this, and I kind of like grew throughout that. And then when I went to college, I was supposed to play college baseball. I did some of the fall ball leading up to it, but then I was really loving competing that year. This is back like regionals when they brought like 68 or something like that, or 60. And I was probably 18 at the time. And that year I missed it by like 2 spots. So the next year I was like, you know what? I'm going to really just kind of like give this sport my all. So I didn't play baseball. And then I went to a gym in Portland, Maine called CrossFit MF, Missed Athletics. Great. They were my coaches, my training people, my whole time, still great friends. But the year I qualified, and that was 2014. And that's what we were talking about. It was like headquarters. It was, the community was amazing. Fell in love with it. And from there, it took on for about a decade, I'd probably say, of me coaching, traveling, seeing the world, getting immersed in different communities, but we all had like this underlying passion for health and wellness and fitness through CrossFit, which is super cool. I got to compete at the games in 2017 as an individual. In 2018, I missed it. I got to be on the demo team, which was an amazing experience. And in 2019, I competed with Alex Smith, Camille LeBlanc, and Jessica Griffith, and we got second at that year at the games, which was great. So I feel like I got like a really cool, all-encompassing approach to CrossFit, which was really sweet. From like the coach side, from the young growing up through the sports side, and then to actually competing, getting a chance to compete at the games, which was really cool. Yeah, that's kind of where my, I guess, in a really fast nutshell, my kind of like experience in the sport kind of came from.
And how did you get involved with Romwad and now Pliability? How did that course?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. So I actually had like one of the first Romwad accounts I remember my like username used to be like Cody MF because it was Misfit, and they gave us all free accounts because honestly, that was back in the day where we used to train like everyone was watching like a day in the life of Rich running. He was doing like 8 workouts in a day, and we're like, we need to train that much. So we just really needed this, and I needed specifically like this platform or this piece I can put into my training that was just the opposite of what our training is, which is so intense. It was like this like my moment to decompress a little bit and to kind of like recover myself and get ready for the next day. So I just came across the platform. I reached out. They sent me an account. So I started doing it. I fell in love with it. Then eventually, I think maybe like a year later, I met up with like Scott, who's the founder, a business partner today. That I was like, man, this thing is awesome. And he's like, yeah, let's get you as an athlete. So I was actually an athlete there for like 4 to 5 years. So I got to see the brand grow. I got the like great interactions with the brand before that, which made honestly the transition eventually pretty seamless, which was cool.
Awesome, man. And, I look at mobility. I mean, obviously, Kelly Starrett's kind of one of the
Yeah, for
big
sure.
names who made mobility mainstream. And, CrossFit couldn't have been in a better community to start that with because
Mhm.
they're so diligent about their bodies. I mean, I was always, I say this candidly now, when I was doing CrossFit for 10 years, I was kind of always had some injury, something going on, right? There was just
Yeah,
always something
yeah.
nagging.
As a lot of us do, even
Yeah.
still to this day. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even that, and even now skiing like 40, 50 days a year, got some, my groin's tight, my knees ache, but it's just part of
Mhm.
being an active lifestyle. But I think anyway,
Mhm.
the point is like CrossFitters tend to be a little bit more in tune, I guess, with their bodies than the general public. So it seemed like a natural place to start with Romwad and Pliability. But I know that you guys see the opportunity now to hit a mass market, right? Open it up a little
Mhm.
bit past that community. Maybe give us some, as you look at the market for, I believe, as you guys phrase it, is uh, human movement health,
Mhm.
right? Can I give us an idea of like outside of CrossFit, like how big do you think this market is? How do you describe the market? What do you think's driving it?
I mean, I think the market is massive. I think that
Mm-hmm.
like more than ever, people are understanding how I think movement from its base form, whatever that may be for them, and physical activity is this grounding experience that really makes you almost feel human again. It makes you feel alive. It makes you feel good. And there's obviously significant health benefits. So I think that like now, I think we really are understanding, I think unfortunately COVID, with a lot of people being isolated and staying inside, I think a lot more. And you're working from home, you're sitting, like all these things. People started to really like I think appreciate again, like something that made them feel just good and free and all that. And I think a lot of it was movement because a lot of times you're outside or you either back with the community working out, or you're sweating, and you're like, man, that was such a good, positive experience in my life, and I want to continue that. And I I always stand by, and I always will. I think actually CrossFit was like a huge starter in that from a long time ago. I
Mm-hmm.
think that like this methodology of functional fitness in a way where it's a little bit of everything and anything, and they're just throwing these different movements at you, and you're running, you're swimming, you're squatting, you're doing everything, you're going below parallel, you're breaking all these range of motions, and you're trying like to push yourself this way was something that I think was proven. There was pieces of it. Maybe not everyone loves to do it at a certain level. There's pieces of it that translate to so many different things that actually benefit in so many other ways. It could be running, golfing, hiking, basketball, football, whatever it may be. So I think like it was a huge movement to like, get people to understand that movement is important, but not just movement like free movement in a way, where it's instead of just doing a quarter squat, now we're going like below parallel. And that's a whole different world to live in. You're full ranges of motion. Your body can move through something without having to compensate. If it's a golf swing or anything like that, you have the ability to do these things, which is really cool. And then most likely do it again, do it again, and do it again, and do it again, because that's what you love to do. So, as a brand and as kind of who we are as Romwad, it was like super, just like we get it. Like I think it did so well in the sport because no other place where people actually do things like that. Like what other resource you have where you come into a gym and you have to go do like a one arm overhead dumbbell squat. And you're like, whoa, I didn't have the mobility to do that. I need to go stretch. Like most people don't experience that. You know what I mean? So I think it was just like a really cool place to start. But then so when we wanted to go outside, and you still understand like where and why is flexibility, mobility needed inside of these sports. And I think that like it was just super cool for me to experience that because we got to work with a lot of SMEs and bring in a lot of people that were professionals inside that sport. And I started to hear how their training, their routines still needed range of motion in so many different ways. And it really started to allow us to create like this platform that we're still evolving, still reaching to have just something where our core product that we give some approach, we do believe that if you do it, you will benefit from it 100%. But then also allowing it in different areas and it feel native and organic and really give them a product that they feel benefits them. That's just been one of the coolest experiences, and it's like a learning experience for me, to be fair, because I always understood like fitness, and I was always a believer in it and a lover of it from, you can say, probably a CrossFit lens and just from like a gym lens, but like understanding it from an everyday use and through other sports and all that as we continue to grow the brand. It's been really, really cool.
Awesome. And maybe this will help set the table for some more questions to fire your way, Cody, but walk me through like the consumer experience as it is now with Pliability. Like what is that? How do people, give me a whole thing.
Yeah. So like we call it our daily sessions, but it's like when you come into the app, you just see like a schedule. It's a weekly schedule. That is our core product at heart. It's always been there. It's a yin yoga-ish approach, but it's more passive holds. So you're going to get longer routines, longer holds, passive, meditative. We have some breathing techniques in there and all that stuff. That will never change. We believe that like that is at our core, that's who we are. And it's like it's a really wonderful experience for everyone to, give them probably one of the best like 20 to 25 minutes of their day, really grounds them. They come out of it and they feel good, and it will start to build this foundation of, range of motion inside of your body and flexibility and mobility that we feel you'll benefit from. But then, which is really cool, we've started to open up this explore section inside of the app. When you hit explore, you'll get different hubs. We have training hubs, we have running hubs, we have golf hub, where that has been our version to start testing some of different sports and getting into where like we can kind of hit home and tailor stuff towards people that are really looking to benefit in a specific thing. And that's been like a super cool part for us, because what that's allowed us to do is obviously expand our methodology a little bit, but still keep our core and kind of expand that way and like push us to kind of evolve and drive the product. And we've done that by bringing in some really cool SMEs, some really cool professionals in the space to help us like do that with purpose. And I think that's been one of the coolest things to see, especially for me, because it's like I said, it's like going to school every day and you're like, wow, that's pretty amazing. I get it. That's how it translates. That makes sense. Yeah. And then we have some really cool stuff coming on the horizon, which I don't want to share now, but I'm like pretty excited, and it'll be a very seamless, but it'll be pretty easy to understand when you hit the app. Like, here's your directions. Here's how we want you to have an experience with the app. We have a really cool team behind this that does a lot of development, testing, all this stuff. And it'll be a really good experience, hopefully, for our members to hit the platform and be like, all right, wonderful. Like this has what I need, and it was easy to find, and it's just like a really great, user experience.
So I've been using it the past few weeks. Thanks for letting me play with it. I like it does give you a mobility assessment, right? Which is, I believe it was just arms overhead squats in a couple different variations.
Yep.
I'd say it kind of, for the most part, nailed my issues, right? Left shoulder, right knee, left ankle.
So that took like a year to a year and a half of development. So we built that
it's not easy.
fully from the ground up. We didn't like license it or anything. I think that's one of our coolest things. I think it kind of gets, because we're a health and wellness brand and we started in CrossFit and all this, it kind of gets put aside some, but I hope the story does eventually come out. Like the founder, Scott Perkins, his knowledge of tech is insane, and how he prioritizes like doing things right and building the right foundation is one of the, like, not if the major factor of why like we've been able to scale this way and grow this company. And it's just cool. So that's just like another great example of how we didn't just go out and license something. We actually built it, and we're constantly evolving it. We have some really, again, cool stuff coming up with a team. There's 2 people that really work on this stuff. And it's just like, when there's new tech that comes out, like LiDAR, like the face recognition stuff, and you can kind of use that technology to give a better experience to our users. Like, we have some people on the team that are just like on it. They're like, hey, here are the things I want to do. And we're like, sweet, let's figure out how to get this done. This is going to make like a really sweet experience for the member. So yeah, I'm glad you like it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost table stakes now for, fitness and wellness technologies to have an aspect of personalization, right? And contextualization, right? People need to know. And that's just the way it's going to be. It's, the biggest buzzword of the year so far is hyper-personalization within the industry. And that's just, and we're just getting started. So it is, it's really interesting. I mean, here's a big question I have for you. When you look at mobility, movement health, right? Getting someone to start and adhere to a consistent fitness plan is hard enough, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But to get them to get into and I'm totally looking at myself, like I can work out consistently, but my mobility routines are shit. Like, I just don't, I know I need to do it. It's just like one of those things. I'm like, well, do I have time to work out? Do I have time to do mobility? Like, which am I going to do today? Do I have time for both? That would be great. But it doesn't always work that way, right? So when you work at like looking at how people can start and adhere to mobility, like the psychology of it, like, is it more difficult than starting a fitness routine? Is it less friction? What do you think?
In my head all the time. Right? If someone asks me like, what's the biggest competitor of this stuff? And honestly, when I think of that, I don't even think of brands in a way. I think of literally just getting people to stretch. I said the hardest thing is like getting people to take the time to start a routine to stretch, to understand the actual like importance of it. That I think is really hard. And most of the time you don't, like the people that do, I've met some people that are like, they totally get it. And they're like, the whole, like back in CrossFit, like there'd be a couple of people. I used to have this friend, Tola, I used to work out, was super strong, but he was also super flexible and he would constantly stretch, but he got it. And I was like, used to those people that would get it, it usually came from like an injury, and they would understand that, like, you know what I mean? Or in CrossFit, you'd see it sometimes, like I said earlier, where you get like a no rep and you couldn't do something and you're just like, man, I'm really sick of this negative experience happening. I need to figure out a way to fix that. So I think one of the biggest things is I mean, obviously time. Everyone is running around. Everyone is, like, it's constant. We're all searching for more time in the day. But I think one of the biggest things that we've been working on and trying to find ways of is educating. I think educating people on self-educating on these importance of these things is not only like a really empowering thing for people, but it's also, they understand it. And I think when you can understand it a little bit, you can make correlations in your life where like you get it. So if I'm a golfer and I love to golf and it's super important to me, sometimes like you don't really know how important it is until it's gone. But if you can get someone to realize before it's taken away from them that, like, hey, let's just like take some time, slow down, do some of these things that we're not 100% guaranteeing you that you're never going to get injured, but like it's proven that if your body can move freely and away from these limitations and all that stuff, that like you're going to have longevity within this thing that you love. Because that's always my goal in this. I'm just a health and wellness like advocate at heart. So my goal is just like to continually help people move. I just want to see people continually do what they love. I think it's a really powerful thing when someone has a habit that is like good for them. And I want them to be able to hold on to that and do that and show other people. And I think 1 goes to 2 and 2 goes to 4 and 4 goes to 8. And it just like starts to grow that way. And you can kind of share that. So I think there's multiple factors into getting people to start this routine. Is it hard? 100%. But I think it's like something that we will continually push for. And I think we are starting to crack the code a little bit of getting people to understand that like this is part of your thing that enables you, helps you do what you love in life, whatever that may be. And like, let's be proactive in this space. Let's get ahead of this thing. Like let's not look back. You're like, damn, I wish I would have done some of this stuff. Damn, I wish I would have like worked on mobility this year because I got a ton of no reps at regionals that kicked me out of this position. Like, damn, I wish I would have, like been stretching. I felt that pain in my back for a long time. Just like Sunday morning, I tried to go play 18, and now like my back is kinked or whatever it may be. Yeah, so it's like it's that's what you just nailed on. Is like one of my biggest driving factors. It's just like getting people to kind of create this positive routine and this positive bit, but like also break it in a way where it's like this is a lifestyle. Like like you want to live that lifestyle. Like you can't put water in a car and expect it to run. Like gasoline is gasoline, you know what I mean? And like there's a concoction of what gasoline is. And like if you want to live that lifestyle, you want to go fast, you want to push your boundaries, you have goals, you want to finish a marathon, like let's give you the right stuff for your body to like get there, do it and feel good about it and not have to have such a like if we can maybe not have such a bumpy road on the way, let's do it,
Yeah. And it's one of those things where if you work out, lift weights, go for a run, do CrossFit, whatever it is that you love, like you feel immediate benefits, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you have an endorphin high or, whatever, endocannabinoid system, whatever it is that people say gives you the high after a workout, right? But mobility, it's like, it's a delayed gratification. And I think that's, a struggle of it all. And there's so much focus over the past few years on recovery and recovery science, but it's mostly been like, all the trendy stuff, right? Like the cold, hot therapies, right? Red light, like all this stuff that's like, sciencey and easy to monetize. But mobility is still not quite where it should be in that conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it is yet, but I think that like we're getting there. And I think that it is starting to become something that's like a piece of your training. I think that like everyone is super metrics driven. Like they want to see their performance score, they want to see the recovery score and all this other stuff. So I think it's just still educating people on how like, instead of jumping into a cold plunge, instead of like doing a sauna, like those are all beneficial things, but there also is this super like natural primal thing that doesn't take, like this or that to do. It's just you, your body, breathing, meditative stretching that actually pushes those recovery scores and stuff like that just as much or close to. And that's like we've partnered with whatever integrations we have is like with Whoop as well. So it's like cool to kind of see the correlations and a lot of that data is coming through. And it's just like, again, it's educating people on using, different tools to help that recovery and, stretching, mindfulness, mobility being one of those is I think is a really big step in like the space that needs to happen. We're trying to get there, but it's a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
Like you said, most people have an hour, maybe to work out, like maybe give or take, you know what I mean? So it is a challenge, especially when you get outside of CrossFit. CrossFitters, I mean, they sometimes have like 2 hours or you spend a lot more time in the gym than most people. So
yeah, it's like, I can always joke, like you can always tell a CrossFitter because they're gonna have like three things. They're gonna have a shaker bottle in their hand. They're gonna have a cup of coffee, probably Starbucks, no cream, no sugar, and then maybe like a foam roller just attached to their bag. Be like, nailed it. You do 100% certain you do CrossFit. Let's talk about the market opportunities. So, and some information you guys sent me a little while ago. The mindful movement market was stated to be about $29 billion. And, CrossFit is obviously just a very small sliver of that. But when you guys start to look at the opportunities to expand into the mass market, like first of all, is that number do you feel that number is still accurate? And then, what are some of the expansion opportunities? You've mentioned golf, a couple other ones, but yeah, how do you look to expand into that market and how big do you think it is currently?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I think it's huge. I think it's bigger. And I think one of the ways, so the hard thing about, I think, going broad market is that there's, conscious of the term, but it can become like almost like a blending thing if you go too fast, where you kind of just like, you're very reactive in a way where you're like seeing this, you're seeing that, and you're just like trying to bring all these things in and maybe become something you're not. And I think that's like one thing that we have a really good team and we've done in a really cool way, where like we haven't tried to be the do all and do everything, and like we're the everything. We're, we know we have a red tape. We know our lines, we know our rails, and we've really tried to like evolve what we are, but not continually change our methodology. Like what we believe in is what we are. There's a bit of, like I said, there's a bit of mindfulness, there's a bit of breathing, there's, stretching, passive. We brought in some more corrective movements that are a bit more like active stuff. But yeah, I think the space is huge, dude. And I think it's needed. We sit, we stress, we live very crazy lifestyles. And I think these tools that allow us to slow down a little bit are going to be like things that help us feel like ourselves again, and are those positive impacts that we need as humans, I think, with ourselves and with our bodies, like throughout the day. Yeah. Right.
And what, like you mentioned golf, like that's obviously golf's a very large and lucrative market. Like golfers will do anything to continue golfing, right? Is there any other markets that you guys have identified as strong targets you want to get into?
Yeah, so I think golf is one of them. I think running is a huge push for us. We just came out with the running hub. I think the training space in general, I think that's where you can, our grassroots is CrossFit, and we always will appreciate that and understand that. But I think that's where I was saying that I think majority of training now is more of this functional fitness style of training. So we'll push hard into there. But I think like golf, running, running's it's been interesting to get into. It's been interesting to see that tap into. It's a really unique sport in a way where you don't need a gym membership, you don't need much, and most people just like put on their shoes, get out the door, and like start kicking it and running, and it's pretty impactful, and it can leave you in a really good feeling, but they can also beat you up pretty bad as well. And then golf's another interesting one where we found like golf it's fun and it's really cool and there's a lot of mobility needed, but the people that do golf are usually like, again, it's something that it's like you work all day and you're like, you hit the course and there's not much prep for it. There's not much maybe training for the swing outside of it. So it's kind of like, again, getting people to understand and tapping into that where they feel like they can relate to the product and the movements and understand, kind of get them to like in their head work like, oh, like this will get my golf swing, or like I do that swing because my back is bothering me, but like this is like better. I can open up now. I can kind of see how like my hips should move in the swing and feel those benefits. Yeah, so like that's some big spaces where we've been getting into, and we'll continually grow that. And then I think, as I always talk about, like our daily sessions is something we'll continually push and show like this passive approach that we really believe is our foundation as a brand and as a company, is kind of a touch point that can fit to all these sports and where everyone will benefit from.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah. Running, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this realize like the injury rate is ridiculous. Like if you're going to train for a marathon, there's like a 93% injury rate.
Yeah.
You're just going to hurt.
Yeah. And it's just like, and I get it, because honestly, I love nothing. I feel like nothing makes me have that, like what you're talking about, like the runner's high or whatever, like the feeling after like running, you're outside, it feels good, you're sweating, it's like nature and all this. But then like the minute my body cools down, I'm like, wow, my knees, my ankles, I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's you're pounding on that pavement a little bit. And it's rough for sure. And especially when you start training a couple days a week, if you're running for something, it becomes like super noticeable how impactful that the sport can be. Yeah, so it's been cool to see.
And Cody, you referred to earlier a partnership with Whoop, so it kind of sparked my curiosity. Like, give us a rundown of like what a partnership like with a company like Whoop looks like. Like, what are the mutual benefits of you guys working together, and are there any other big ones that you guys have currently out there?
So Whoop is like our major one right now. I mean, we don't integrate with too many people. I mean, this Scott can speak more about the tech side of stuff, which is pretty cool. We have
Mm-hmm.
maybe potentially another one coming up, which would be a pretty sweet one as well. But with Whoop, a lot of it is just really cool. It's the data that we get to see. You know what I mean? There's a lot of, they're pretty started like pretty heavy in CrossFit. It's funny, I used to train at CrossFit Fenway in Boston, and Whoop used to come in as like an 8-person team. And they used to come to the gym once in a while, and now they're massive. But a lot of it for us is just understanding, like when people's strength scores are high, making the correlation between like passive and our routines and our daily sessions. And are we really actually pushing the recovery scores and like helping out in that way, and kind of like some of the heart rate stuff during the routines. A lot of this is it's data-based stuff to help us evolve our product, which is really cool. And I think it's been like a pretty big eye opener for us for the past little bit. And I think Whoop is just like a great example of where wearable stuff like that and where the health and wellness community is going, where they want to track these metrics. And it's just like educating users on how like it's a full circle thing. And it's just like, you know what I mean? And we can kind of play in that world. And I think it's been a really cool example for us internally to see how that works. Like I said, evolve what we give to best benefit people and help them recover and get back to, performing each day like they want to, whatever that is out of their bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. And I want to know too about, obviously you guys have the majority of your energy and time put into direct to consumer, but have you guys explored any kind of commercial opportunities? So, partnerships with, brick and mortar gyms and health clubs, or, any, schools, like university training centers, like what kind of, talk to me about that side of things.
We get hit up sometimes by like a bigger community like that. If it's a gym, like we work with definitely a handful of gyms for sure. Some of our athletes, when they're involved in a gym so heavily, they'll reach out and we'll kind of create this little mobility space, and it'll be like a cool experience. One of the coolest ones I think that has been like coming up recently has been firehouses. So we've gotten hit up by a couple few where it's just like, it's been super cool to see, and it like really cool to hear their stories and how it's a benefit. We just had like a pretty decent sized one down in Virginia kind of reach out to us, and we kind of helped them get like the whole firehouse onto the platform and using it. So I think it's definitely an avenue that we're going to be tapping into for sure and trying to, drive that way. I think that there's like some implications that we're still kind of fleshing out and seeing what that is, but we definitely have some academies, some, like I said, the firehouses, stuff like that have reached out and been like, hey, it's usually, and that's where I say it's always like 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 4. It's usually like 1 or 2 people like, this product has made a huge, like, it's super easy. It's click and follow along, and it's been like really beneficial. And then like a couple of people get on, and then like once there's enough, like someone will reach out and be like, hey, can we do something here? And we're always like, yes, let's help out. Let's do this, because again, it's just like spreading the word and spreading the education. And it's just been really cool to see for me, because it's nice when I see how our product works inside of sport all the time. But when you see it work in life as well, it like, I get fired up. I'm like, that's just cool. You know what I mean? If it's someone at the desk that's just like, hey, I've been struggling with this back pain forever, but I've been stretching and it's been really helping me, or like a real life scenario, like in the firehouse and stuff like that, I'm like, that's really cool, because that is beyond just like sport. That is, again, still some physical activity where it may not be, but it's working. It kind of like goes back to our mission and our vision of, like, believe in our stuff. And it's just like, I take it as a win when we find those. It's nice to hear and nice to see.
Yeah. Well, I actually had a couple of beers with some good firefighter friends last night, and they're always looking for opportunities to stay healthy and keep their. I mean, it's a very expensive problem, right?
Yeah, of course.
If they're injured, and one of the things I'm maybe you're probably working on it, but I think a huge opportunity for something like this would be pickleball. I mean,
we got reached out to by a couple of things. I don't know. Someone sent me a pitch deck once. It was for Scott and I, but it was like a big event in Miami. But I forget what the number was, but it was like the number of injuries happening in pickleball, and I was like, wow.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my goodness.
I've never seen anything in my fitness and health wellness career like pickleball. Like maybe CrossFit, right? But CrossFit, is unique. Yeah, it's just it's on fire. Everybody I know does pickleball, and I guess I got to try it this summer
Yeah.
at some point.
You haven't
It
tried it
sounds
yet.
like it's no, I haven't. Mainly because my
Yeah.
wife is adamant she refuses to do it.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Oh,
Maybe
fair
because
enough.
she's hyper competitive and she's worried that she'll get hooked on it.
Yeah, but it's just like
But
it's just a good example of, I think a lot of these injuries come from when you're doing something intense like that. If your body doesn't move freely and you put it to a limit where it like needs to go to something, it's like, all right, I'm going to go there, but I don't really know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? If you're not
yeah,
testing those range of motions and you're not like, your body's not used to or can get there safely, it's, I mean, we've seen it in CrossFit. Like when most of the time it's weight. Like sometimes weight will push you into position. You're like, whoa, that was too much, or something along
yeah,
those lines. But I think when you're also playing a sport that's aggressively making you go side to side and moving,
yeah.
you don't have full control all the time. To be like, that's too far from me. 100%. So. Yeah.
And a lot of people are, it's such an easy sport to play from my understanding,
Sure.
so you get a lot of people who are, relatively sedentary get into it. And I'll walk by during pickleball time at my health club gym and, you look through the glass at all the courts and I'm like, whoa, she's like,
Yeah.
knee braces, wrist braces, like all
Dude.
kinds of stuff going on. There's like,
Yeah, and then
kinesio tape everywhere.
upstream, downstream. You block off one, like where else is it going to come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things. You're going to move somewhere. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to just like keep pushing the pace and set the tone that like move freely, like allow yourself, like give your body that at least. Give yourself the headspace, the ability to feel good, the ability to move, and continue doing what you love. Like the worst thing is to see when someone gets injured. Especially when they love doing something that was positive for them, physically and mentally. I think it's pretty nasty cycle to get into.
Cody, if you don't mind, before we start to wrap this up, give us little insights into how Pliability is doing as a business. Like whatever you can share, I think you guys maybe had some recent fundraising. I can't remember exactly, users, companies. No.
Yep.
Okay.
No
okay.
fundraising. No, not for us. No, I mean, we've experienced a good amount of growth last year. It was really cool to see the transition. We didn't really know what would happen. And we kind of we didn't really lose much, and we started kicking right off and started going. So last year was really cool for us. There was a good amount of growth. We grew in about a 15+% in subscriber growth, which was really cool. So it was just like really cool for us as a company and as a brand to see that like what we believe in, our mission, vision, and all that stuff, like what we pictured, it works and it's gonna work. And like let's put some gas in this fire and let's keep it going. So as a company, we're stronger than ever. And I think another huge addition of what we've done last year was, and through kind of the past 2 years through COVID, which was definitely not easy, is we've built an amazing team of some really freaking cool people, which I like. For me, it's been the biggest thing because I've always come from such a team, sports. And I think it's just like really important to have the right people in the right mindset and for everyone to believe in what we do. We have runners, moms, dads, CrossFitters, Olympic rowers. Like we have some cool people, some great SME chiropractic doctors like touching this product daily. Some back end people that are just geniuses and blow my mind all the time. And it's just like, it's a piece to the bigger picture. And I think like what we've created here is really cool. And we're just going to continually try to give our members the best product and push into the space and bring awareness to like stretching is here to stay. And we're going to continually push that message. Like where we want to show you the benefits. We want you to understand that like this is going to make a difference in your life in a positive way. So like take the time, let's get the time to do it. And we're going to make it as easy as possible for you to do, because I think that's one of the things that helps create a habit.
Yeah, reducing friction, right?
Yeah, for
last
sure.
question I always ask Cody is, what are one or two of the biggest challenges you're facing right now as a company? And I ask that in the spirit of, people who are listening who may have a solution, can reach out to you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's just understanding how to get, like I said, I think our biggest uphill battle, and that's something we'll always face, is like stretching isn't the new sexy, fun, like gritty, push yourself, like I'm going to get jacked from it thing. You know what I mean? It is the slowing down. It's truly getting people to take the time to understand the benefits of it and stretch and to do this positive thing for themselves. So I think it's just always, and customer feedback is one of the best things that we have. And we constantly are reviewing it, looking at it, everything, because it allows us to continually evolve and adapt our product to giving our members like something that truly works for them and fits their lifestyle. So I think it's just anything on how to like what you would like, what style do you like? Is it click and play? Is it the easy to follow along? Is it the passive holds, time frames? Like when do you like to do it? There's constant questions that we're asking and getting just to help people create this stretching routine and become part of their lifestyle, and they feel the benefit of it in their life. So I think that is always that will always be our biggest uphill battle as a company, is getting people to understand the benefits of consistently stretching and what that can do for them.
Yeah. I mean, I fully know the benefits and I still struggle to do it. Right. And I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
So far, so good with
myself included.
Like
I did it for years. I'm partnering the company, and still like some days I'm like, damn, like I just did a workout and I'm like at home kind of doing one of these on my back. I'm like, I should find the time to stretch. Sometimes it is still that thought in my mind, but the more I continually educate myself and the more I know, like I'm like, I need to do that, because this is something that's going to help me continually do what I love. And that is randomly going out for a run, randomly going to the gym with my wife. Scott and I start our days off as business partners 3 days a week in the gym. And it's just like, it's like a huge part of what we believe in. So it's like for me to continually do that, like I can't put water in the car. I need to put gasoline in the car, and I know what that means. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, Cody, if people want to get a hold of you or reach out and just generally, work with Pliability, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so probably just through Instagram. Cody J Mooney is my handle. DM me, reach out, questions, whatever that may be. It's all welcomed and accepted and appreciated. Like I said, if there's any way we can help out, if it's an event, a charity, anything that you think that would benefit, a brand like us, like we're totally open to looking at that and helping and spreading this message that we strongly believe in. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Appreciate your time on this.
Thanks, dude. This was great.
Wonderful Friday and spring, man. And I'm going to go get my mobility in this afternoon. So
perfect.
Get my
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Cody Mooney.